The house was loud in that busy, festive way, glasses clinking, someone laughing too hard, the television murmuring a holiday special no one was actually watching. 20 people, maybe more, friends of hers. Colleagues, people I didn't know, but who seemed to know where everything belonged. I stood near the doorway holding my scarf, smiling at faces that slid past me like I was part of the furniture, eventually folded the coat myself and placed it on a chair in the hallway. Later I would see it move to the garage. That should have been my first clue, but I've learned to excuse small things. I told myself it was crowded. I told myself I was sensitive. Told myself Christmas Eve makes everyone strange. I had brought the bread. I always brought the bread, still warm when I arrived, set it down carefully on the counter, and someone immediately moved it to make room for a charcuterie board shaped like a Christmas tree. No one said thank you. No one said anything at all. Dinner was announced loudly like a performance. Plates were passed, wine poured. I waited, assuming I'd be called over when there was a seat. Instead, daughter-in-law caught my eye and tilted her head toward the back of the house. "There's a place for you," she said, her voice light, rehearsed. I followed her through the laundry room and into the garage. The temperature dropped immediately. Single folding table had been set up near the freezer, one plate already there. The dog's bowl sat nearby, freshly filled. She didn't look angry. That was the strangest part. She looked efficient. "Eat here," she said. Then, quieter, clarification rather than an insult. "You're not real family." The words didn't echo. They just sat there between us, and exact. I waited for the rest of the sentence, for a joke, a smile, some explanation that would let me pretend I'd misunderstood. She glanced at her phone instead. I nodded once, not because I agreed, but because my body hadn't caught up with my mind yet. Then I turned around, walked back through the house, picked up my coat from the garage chair, and let myself out the front door. No one stopped me. I don't think anyone noticed. Outside, the air was sharp and clean. The sky had that brittle clarity it gets on cold nights, stars looking closer than usual. I stood on the porch for a moment, listening to the muffled sound of celebration continuing without me, and then I drove home. I didn't cry. I kept expecting to. Instead, there was a hollow calm, like something had finally settled into place. By the next morning, the practical problems began. First call came before breakfast. My son sounded tired, his voice careful. "Mom," he said, "there's an issue with the account. Owned the house they lived in. Not outright, I'd kept it in my name when my husband died, telling myself it was temporary. We'd sort it out later. I paid the property taxes. The utilities ran through my account because it had been easier that way. Handled the insurance, the maintenance, the quiet paperwork no one likes but everyone depends on. Over the years, involvement had faded into the background. It was just how things were. I closed the shared access," I said. My voice surprised me with how steady it sounded. "I'll transfer what's needed directly going forward." There was a pause, irritation masked as concern. "You can't just?" "I can," I said. "And I have." By noon, the property manager had called them about the leak in the upstairs bathroom, the one I'd been reminding them about for months. Without my authorization, the repair couldn't proceed. By afternoon, the holiday rental they'd planned to host next week was in question. Because my name was on the insurance, no one yelled. No one accused me directly. Instead, messages arrived that tried to sound normal. "Didn't mean it like that. You know how she is." It got blown out of proportion. I answered only what was necessary. Logistics, feelings. That evening, my son came by alone. He sat at my kitchen table, looking around like he was seeing the space for the first time. "She didn't think you'd take it so seriously," he said finally. Poured tea. I didn't sit down right away. I didn't think she'd say it out loud. I replied. He rubbed his hands together. "She didn't mean you weren't family?" "She said exactly that," I said. Not harshly, just accurately. Silence settled between us. Wasn't hostile. It was clarifying. "I don't want to fight," he said. "Neither do I. What do you want then?" I considered that. Last night, in the cold, I'd thought the answer would be complicated. It wasn't. "I want to be treated like a person," I said, "not an inconvenience that pays bills." He nodded, slowly. "She didn't realize how much you handled, realize how invisible I'd become," I said. We talked about next steps, about boundaries, about how things would change, not dramatically, just correctly. When he left, he hugged me longer than usual. It didn't fix everything. It wasn't meant to. That night, sat alone with my dinner at my own table. The house was quiet, warm. The dog lay at my feet, asleep. I thought about the garage, concrete floor, the single plate, the casual certainty with which I'd been placed there. Realized then that the humiliation hadn't been the location. It had been the assumption that I would accept it. Didn't feel victorious. There was no satisfaction in watching systems falter or plans unravel. What I felt was something calmer and stranger, a sense of alignment. My actions finally matched my worth. The next Christmas would be different. Or maybe it wouldn't include them at all. I didn't know yet. What I did know was this: I would never again eat in the cold to keep someone else warm.